Golden Heights Academy was the epitome of excellence located in Kacheda Street in Lagos. Parents clamored to enroll their children, and teachers longed for a place within its prestigious walls. Students were excited to attend the academy and studied hard to pass the entrance examination and selection process. But behind the grandeur, darkness lurked, one tied to its enigmatic founder and headmistress, Madam Omotola Adewale. Omotola had not always been like this. Years ago, she was a struggling entrepreneur with a dream of running a school that would set a new standard in education. She planned to build a prestigious institution known for developing academic, social, and business skills. To her, developing balanced students is what education should be about, and she believed that with what she planned to offer, the school would grow and become successful. However, things did not turn out quite the way she had envisaged. Business happened. The school grew slowly, despite all her efforts. But what troubled her was that some of her competitors, who offered far less value than she did at the same price, had more students and happy parents. How can this be? Omotola always wondered. As time passed, things got more difficult. In a country where quality education was often hindered by the lack of funds, corrupt officials, and poor infrastructure, Omotola faced overwhelming obstacles. She did not want to lower the standard she had set for her school, but she was short on funds and investors. All efforts to get investors to invest in her school did not succeed. She has come this far. 7 years running Golden Heights Academy will not be wasted. So Omotola began seeking advice. One evening, as she sat with her childhood friend Olamide, Omotola voiced her troubles and fear for the school. But dreams often come at a price, Olamide responded. This surprised Omotola. Do you mean there is a way out? She asked. Then Olamide leaned in closer and whispered a secret into her ear. From that moment on, Omotola's path was forever altered. You cannot build an empire without power, and power requires sacrifice. Olamide had said, her eyes gleaming with something dark and ancient. Desperate to see her school flourish, Omotola followed Olamide to a shrine deep in a forest located in the outskirts of the city, where some elders worshipped an ancient river deity. There, figures clothed in white and red chanted in the ancient Yoruba tongue, their voices summoning a force beyond comprehension. Omotola stood, scared but resolute. The high priestess, a wrinkled woman draped in red, approached Omotola, placing a cold skeletal hand on her stomach. You wish to command power, then you must surrender what makes you whole, she said. That night, Omotola made the ultimate sacrifice, her womb for the school's success. It was a difficult decision for her as she was yet unmarried. She had started the school straight after her youth service and invested all the money her late father had left her into the business. She had hoped her father's friends would support her to rebuild her family, but that did not happen. But how can they help her? Even her stepmother, stepbrother, and half sister were more interested in snatching even the fund her father set up for her. Now it has come to this. A part of her was happy she would thrive. Another part wondered if it was only to maintain the legacy that she had done this. But it is done, and there is no going back. The very next day, enrollment doubled, and parents were willing to pay to be on the waiting list and also recommended the school to friends. Omotola was astounded. Soon enough, investors lined up. Many of the people who had refused her previously joined, hoping she would still give them a chance to partner with her. With the unfolding events, the Academy's reputation soared, but with her newfound prosperity came an unspeakable curse. At every full moon, Omotola was compelled to visit the banks of the Ogun River. There, her human form dissolved into that of a massive python, slithering into the depths to pay homage to the gods who granted her power and wealth. But the visit to Ogun River was not all there was to it. Soon, the Academy took on an airy reputation. Everyone knew that Madame Omotola Adewale's word was law. No one dared question anything she said or did. She also had a way of charming everyone to follow whatever she wanted. She carefully handpicked the teachers and management team. Anyone who would not follow a certain culture, as she put it, was never promoted, even if that was the most deserving person in every way. Only people who supported her rituals and kept the secret were welcome. Strange occurrences plagued the teachers. Those who dared to question Omotolo's rule suffered terrifying fates, sudden illnesses, unexplainable disappearances, and in some cases, tragic deaths. People could tell something was going on, but could not quite put their finger on it. They excused everything going on politics and coincidence. A mathematics teacher, Mr. Gary, mysteriously drowned in his own bathtub after criticizing Omotola's unconventional policies. A young literature teacher, Miss Okata, vanished without a trace after she stumbled upon a hidden chamber beneath Omotola's office. Despite these horrors, the school thrived. Its students excelled, its reputation remained untarnished, and no parent even suspected the darkness that festered beneath the surface. School events were packed, and support from all stakeholders remained solid. However, the teachers who were not in the inner clique began changing jobs. The teacher turnover did not bother Omotola. The school has earned a name, and as one teacher leaves, 10 more are waiting to fill the space. Then came Mr. Tunde, a determined history teacher who refused to be cowed by the whispers of dread. He had seen too many good educators disappear, and he vowed to uncover the truth. So he began asking questions about the school's policies, claiming he wanted to understand his workplace better to contribute more to the success of the organization. His willingness to work with the privileged staff in the school allowed him to gather information, listening to conversations he would otherwise not know had taken place. One evening, as Mr. Tunde was preparing to leave for the day, he overheard Madam Omotola's secretary say the madam would be going on a long walk later in the evening one of these days. This piqued his interest, and he planned to follow her, so Mr. Tunde kept a close watch on Madam Omotola. Late one night, he followed Omotola to the riverbank. What he saw made his blood run cold. The elegant headmistress stood at the river's edge, her body convulsing before elongating into scales and muscle. The python that replaced her coiled and hissed, slipping into the river's black depths. Horrified but resolute, Mr. Tunde knew he had to expose her. He had whipped out his mobile phone and taken a recording of what unfolded before him. Although blurry, it would do. The next morning, he began compiling evidence. He documented every missing teacher and every strange occurrence, and even made copies of the blurry photographs of the serpent's form. But Omotola was no fool. She sensed the shift in the air, the way Mr. Tunde's eyes burned with the fire of defiance, even when his tone seemed soft, coquetting, and submissive. She began monitoring him, and when she realized what he was up to, she unleashed her fury. One evening, as Mr. Tunde worked late in his office, the lights flickered. "Who is there?" he asked, looking around, but he saw no one. He went back to his work as the light came back on. After a few minutes came the flicker again. This time there was a chill in the air, that feeling that something sinister lurks around. Mr. Tunde looked up, wishing the light to come back on so he could make his way out of the room, but it didn't. A slow, deliberate hiss filled the air, growing closer. He opened his drawer and pulled out his mobile phone to use its light. By the time he turned around, it was too late. The last thing he saw was gleaming fangs before darkness swallowed him whole. The next day, Madam Omotola stood before the assembly, calm and composed. "Mr. Tunde has left us unexpectedly," she announced, her smile devoid of warmth. "But we must not dwell on sorrow. Golden Heights Academy remains a beacon of knowledge and discipline." The students cheered. The teachers, who still remained, forced their applause. And in the river, beneath the murky waters, a great python stared, waiting for its next offering. But unlike others, Mr. Tunde had been prepared. His wife, Angela, a journalist, had known about his investigation. The moment he went missing, she took his files, photographs, and recordings to the press. By the time the police report was telling the tale of the accident and where his body was found, the dark stories of Golden Heights Academy were out on all platforms, gaining an audience and spreading fast. It started as whispers in online forums and then grew into headlines. Golden Heights Academy, the disappearances no one talks about. The photos and videos gave the news credibility. People began to cringe. Opinions began to sway. Parents began withdrawing their children. Teachers resigned in droves. The authorities launched an investigation, and for the first time, Omotola felt the walls closing in. She had not seen this coming. She had taken Mr. Tunde out to avoid things getting to this. The rule she had been told in the ancient court was not to have any evidence of this in public. If it was presented where they could control it, then they would. She had assured them and herself she would never allow any evidence to be found, let alone trying to control the narrative. But here she was, staring at her screen and watching herself shift into a python. "How could I have been so careless?" she hissed. But there was nothing else she could do. She has to face the music since it has come to this. Meanwhile, stories kept spreading. The online forums kept buzzing. People spoke of Madam Omotola's genuine commitment to education and wondered why she got into something so dark. Some said it was greed. Others speculated it was the quest for power. There were those who believed she was misled, and some who simply read the comments and said nothing. For many parents, they did not want their children attending the school anymore. They wondered why they did not notice that something was off all along. The online people began to call the school the Serpent Academy, and just like that, the name stuck. The next full moon, Omotola went to the river, but this time she did not return. Some say she remains there, lurking beneath the murky waters, waiting for those who dare to defy the gods. And in the ruins of Golden Heights Academy, where the school once stood, the wind still carries a whisper, a warning to those who seek power beyond their means.